What's up, everyone? It is Sunday, January the 14th, around 11:30 a.m. It is a week removed from the bomb cyclone that brought polar temperatures for a week across the southeast and basically the whole Midwest and East Coast of the U.S. And a lot's changed in a week. The temperatures warmed up to about 60 degrees in the mountains, almost 70 in Chapel Hill, and all of that ice has been thawing all week. But then a cold front came through on Friday night and dropped the temperatures again, so it's still pretty darn cold. I think it's around 20 to 25 degrees right now, and the high in this area is around 30 today. So instead of doing another hike where I'm freezing my ass off, I didn't really want to do any high elevations today like my original plan. So instead, I'm hiking two trails that form a loop, which I literally pass by on half of my road trips on I-40. Today I'm just outside of Old Fort, North Carolina, in the Grandfather Ranger District of Pisgah National Forest, and I'm currently on the Young's Ridge Trail, which is informally known as the Kitsuma Peak Trail. I started at the Old Fort picnic area on Swannanoa Creek, and I'm following the massive east-west Young's Ridge, which basically parallels I-40 as it climbs from the Kitsuma Valley to Swannanoa Gap and then drops into the Swannanoa Valley. Although this ridge isn't high in elevation, it basically ranges from 2,000 to 3,200 feet. The high point, which is Kitsuma Peak, around 3,200 feet, I forget. There's a lot of elevation gain on this 5-mile ascent. I think close to 2,000 feet. Lots of bumps. And then once I reach the end of the trail on the Swannanoa Gap side, I'm going to connect with the Point Lookout Trail, which is paved and follows former US 70 through the Royal Gorge, which basically parallels the railroads through the mountains. And there should be a view from Kitsuma Peak today and also from Point Lookout. This is roughly a 10-mile loop, and it's also multi-use. It's rated for mountain biking also, but I doubt I'll see really anyone on the trail today. So let me climb a little bit further, and I'll try to bust out the map and show you where I'm at. The start of the trail is really where you get most of the hard climbing out of the way. The picnic area was around 1,600 feet, and currently I'm above 2,600 feet. So I've climbed over 1,000 feet in less than an hour, probably less than 2 miles. So if you're thinking about doing this trail, the majority of the climb, you get out of the way right at the beginning when you have the most energy. And now I'm just kind of cruising on this ridge line. So far I've passed one mountain biker, but that's it. I would think when it's a little bit warmer or during the summer months, this would be a lot more popular with trail runners and mountain bikers. So this is a trail that you should not wear headphones on if you're that kind of person, because you got to watch out for the bikers, since this is a popular downhill section. I have brought with me the National Geographic Linville Gorge and Mount Mitchell map. There's not really many options for this area, but a map really isn't necessary unless you're trying to identify other roads and peaks in the region. The scale is 1 in 65,000, and This area right here around exit 72 and exit 73 is the small town of Old Fort. And I took the Mill Creek Road, and you can see the Old Fort picnic area right there, which is basically at the confluence of Swannanoa Creek and Mill Creek. And I'm following the Young's Ridge Trail, marked 206 on the map. And eventually it's going to climb up to Kitsuma Peak and drop down to meet whatever this road is. And I'll follow that road, and then eventually on the right of the road will begin the Point Lookout Trail, which isn't exactly labeled on this map, but you can see the Point Lookout landmark. But the trail follows roughly this improved white road labeled on the map. It is an official National Forest trail. So this loop in total is around 10 miles. The Young's Ridge Trail at the moment is a very pleasant ridge walk. The trail is in very good condition, and it's a kind of a double wide trail, can fit 2 people side by side. And it's following this pretty narrow ridge with lots of scraggly pine. And I'm getting constant winter views, which has been nice. This is actually one of the worst spots that I've stopped at for these views to the north towards Pinnacle. And for most of the trail, I-40 is your constant companion. Even if you can't see it, I've been able to hear it the whole time, which is fine by me because hardly any trails in these mountains parallel the interstate like this. And I've always been fascinated by roads and bridges since I was a kid. I just loved them. And it's kind of cool being able to watch the interstate climb with me through the mountains. It's basically staying about 300 or 400 feet below the top of the ridge. And it's reminding me of when I was hiking in Washington for a summer and Interstate 90 cut through the heart of the Cascades to Snoqualmie Pass, and all of the hikes to the summits around there basically started less than a mile from the interstate. And as you climbed and got to the Alpine Zone, you could see the interstate cutting through the mountains thousands of feet below, which always is cool to me, so I don't mind it. I'm at the main cliff overlook below Kitsuma Peak. Really great views looking west from this cliff overlook on Kitsuma Peak, staring straight down I-40 cutting through the Swannanoa Valley. Just south, rising above the interstate, are the Swannanoa Mountains, which I've hiked a few times. This peak over here is Jesse's High Top, which I think might be the tallest peak in the range. I'm not sure. This huge drop straight ahead is part of the High Top Trail, which has amazing views. Part of the YMCA Blue Ridge Assembly trail system. Just behind that is High Windy with the really large tower. And I think to the left here, this peak also has a tower. That might be Glade Mountain, which is part of the Christ Mount Christian retreat or whatever that is. Basically, the headwaters are below me of the Swannanoa River, and it heads west, basically paralleling I-40, eventually flowing into the French Broad River. You can kind of see the northeastern Great Balsam Mountains from here, but I can't really tell you any of the peaks. In the background here, that's kind of the southern tip of the Great Craggy Mountains. And then this really big cross, white cross, you can't really tell if it's a cross from this angle, but you can see it from the highway. That's part of the Ridgecrest Assembly, which is also a Christian retreat, and that has a really nice trail system, which I've been on before. Last year, I think in January or maybe the end of December, I did an out and back in a loop on this peak and this peak, Copperhead Mountain and Rattlesnake Mountain. Rattlesnake's on the left. They both have really great views, and they are sub peaks of Lookout Mountain, which is that hump straight ahead. And Lookout Rock is on the other side of that, and that has an awesome view north into Montreat. And Montreat is kind of hidden behind this area, kind of in this U-shaped valley. And then let me back up a little. These are some of my favorite peaks in the region. Hiked them many times. This is Walker's Knob, and that is Graybeard Mountain, which is just above 5,400 feet. Part of the Montreat Conference Center trail system. And then this peak right here is Pinnacle, and that is one of my all-time favorite peaks in North Carolina. Great views. Can't actually tell what this one is. It also looks like Pinnacle to me. Could be Bald Knob, could be Potato Knob, but I definitely know that further back, all of those towers are on the top of Clingmans Peak. The trail switchbacks all the way down right beside the interstate. Pretty interesting. We're right at the Eastern Continental Divide at Swannanoa Gap. That's the high point of the gap right there. And here's the trail. You know, every time I drive through here, I always try to look and see if I could see the trail. I didn't realize it was right behind this fence. On both ends of the trailheads, you have to connect them by road walk. It's not too long. I think it's less than a half mile on each side, and these roads aren't used that frequently. I'm passing by the Ridgecrest Assembly right now, and if I wanted to, if you wanted to, you could probably extend this hike and hike up to Rattlesnake and Copperhead Mountain for like a 15-mile round trip. I'm not going to do that. Following the Royal Gorge Rd, and somewhere down here the Point Lookout Trail begins. All right, finally connected to the Point Lookout Trail. A little bit longer road connection than I expected. Probably about a mile. I'm currently hiking east on the Point Lookout Trail. At the trailhead, it was listed as 3.6 miles long, but realistically, if you're doing this trail, you're probably doing the loop, which means you have to connect it on either side with the road walk, so it's closer to 5 miles when you consider that. This trail is paved all the way, so I don't really need my hiking stick anymore, and I don't think I'll have to exert much energy. I did all that on the way up Young's Ridge. I'm basically following the old path of US 70. It is also the route of the railroad through the mountains. You can actually see it just below here. You can see a tunnel. There's another tunnel right here. And the last peak in the distance there, it's probably pretty sunny. That's Kitsuma Peak. So I think I've got about 2.5 miles left. And my next stop is going to be Point Lookout, which is the main attraction for this trail. was pretty cool being able to follow the railroad route on a pretty easy path. And should be back at my car in probably about 90 minutes. Got one railroad tunnel right here, and then another one. Sun's kind of bad in this direction though. This is Point Lookout. Even has some benches. This used to be a popular vehicle destination in the 1920s until 1982, when vehicle traffic was discontinued on this trail and it was turned into a greenway. Now it's just a very nice overlook of the eastern exit of the Royal Gorge, about 600 feet below where I'm standing. And in the background there is part of the Kitsuma Valley. And we have a really nice view of the northwestern South Mountains. These are the biggest peaks in the South Mountains range, including Buzzard Roost, Hickory Knob, Prost Mountain, and Icy Knob, which are around 3,000 feet. Something I'm looking to peak bag in the future. I can't tell which is which, where that cluster of peaks is. Probably almost dead center. And they surround the Clear Creek watershed, a new section of South Mountain State Park. There's also this peak with a tower that looms over Marion, North Carolina. I never look up what that mountain is, but when you're driving on I-40, you can always see it. We also have a decent view of Young's Ridge, which rises a lot higher over the gorge than where I'm standing. Really nice little spot. Definitely worth the trip. You get a nice big open view of Young's Ridge in this clearing, and you can actually see Point Lookout a few hundred yards to the south up there. I can hear the train. It's coming through, I think, towards me. I've been hearing the horn get progressively louder. And so I started running. I'm gonna see if I can get to a spot where I can see the train tracks, but I'm not optimistic. Anyways, this is a really nice view upstream of the gorge. Point Lookout up on the right, and Young's Ridge rising 800 feet above Swannanoa Creek. I just finished the hike around 3:45 p.m. Took me about 4 hours and 20 minutes, and it was tracked as 10.2 miles. I think the best word to describe that hike is pleasant. It was very leisurely. It resembled a lot of state park hikes that I do because the trails were in good condition, easy to follow, not too tough. So I wasn't physically or mentally exhausted like I am on some hikes where I have to do a lot of bushwhacking, or I do 15 miles and 3,000 to 4,000 feet of elevation gain. This was definitely a good change up from what I've been doing the past year. I really enjoyed the few viewpoints I got. It's not the best views in the area, but it's also not a hard hike. It's easy to get to. So I highly recommend it as a change of pace, especially from what I usually do. I was thinking about doing a second shorter hike in the area, but it's almost 4, and I think I might instead just go ahead and drive to Old Hickory Brewery and try to catch some of the Vikings Saints playoff game, because that's the best game of the weekend, at least on paper. So I'll be back in the area. I've got a couple more things that I need to check off. Some hikes I've done before, but I haven't tracked and I haven't done videos of. So look for those in the upcoming months. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.